pleasure to be part of the Inner Circle community. My name is Kathryn Carlyle. I was born and grew up in Chicago, Illinois. Lived and worked there for a major part of my life. Loved to travel internationally at a very early age. Come from a small family, an only child with a brother and sister that was adopted in my high school years, thus not really being as close because I was already traveling internationally at that time. My educational background was that of a private high school, and from there, many workshops and junior colleges, passionately pursuing my love of art during 9 to 5 regular positions and a lot of sales background, many positions in sales, which has helped me through the years, getting out of being introverted to more of an extrovert. The opportunity to relocate to the southern area of Florida came into my life about 20 years ago. And from there, it's all history, the passion for art, and my love of what it's done and the change that's happened on very many spiritual levels, which infuses itself to make my art happen. I started working at a very early age. I was 15. I worked for Illinois Bell Telephone as a telephone operator back when we had cords. And it was one ringy-dingy, two ringy-dingy, Lily Tomlin. I worked full-time during high school after hours, and on the weekends babysitting for 3 young children from the age of 10 months to 3 years old, probably why I decided not to have children. I then transitioned to being in sales on all levels. I did window display. I'm very fascinated with fashion and worked in Chicago boutiques on Michigan Avenue. I have an extensive sales background in fragrance, and I took it a step further. I was directly working for Catherine Deneuve. I launched her fragrance and trained the models. I worked for Tiffany Jewelry Store and launched their fragrance. Sales background had a wonderful part in taking me from being a little shy to extremely extroverted and very social, which again, with everything else, my current business, networking is key. I then worked for a law firm, a major law firm in Chicago in PR, and did all of their travel coordination. I departed Chicago on that note and then pursued my art on a full-time level. Marriage, children. My art is a process where I give birth to my children. Human children never came into the picture. Marriage, very early age. First marriage, right out of high school. Vietnam was happening. Second marriage, 80s, Chicago. That ended, and then the third marriage, and the marriage that is still my life and love of the last 35 years, from Oak Park, Illinois, and the road down to southern Florida. That's all, folks.
Dog.
Oh, my dogs. Why didn't you say that before? My children let me tell you about my very important children. I have a family of 4 fur babies, 3 dogs, and a cat that I inherited. My children, as they are very blessed. The menu and health items are all prepared by their mother every day on an ongoing basis, which leads me to my culinary pursuits, which is a whole nother story. But my wonderful little family are all approaching 16 years old, and I know that they're still on this planet because of the care and love they get from their mother.
Kathryn Carlyle.
Hello, Philip.
And your resume is quite large, isn't it? What you have done in the artistic world. You started out in Chicago.
Born and raised, Chicago, a good part of my life.
Is that around Michigan Avenue now?
Michigan Avenue is one of the prime arteries in Chicago proper. Many people that visit will hit that avenue because of the retail stores and
Then I've probably
a
been
lot
on
of
Michigan
history,
Avenue.
water tower, etc. throughout the years.
Did you grow up in that area around Michigan Avenue?
I actually became more affiliated with that area once I was in the working arena after high school, after some international travel. And
You started out as a model, correct?
I have modeled. That was at one point in my life when I moved to New York for
Two big
period.
cities, from
Two
a
big
large
cities.
city to a larger city.
And sandwiched in between that was my time in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, living there for a nice period of time. And that
But we
influenced-
could ignore Jennings completely, and we could just talk about Rio de Janeiro then, can't we, and your adventures there.
No, Jennings is a star in his own right.
We have a little Latin flair
I
here, Puerto
have
Rico and Rio de Janeiro.
always been enamored with the foreign influences on all levels.
So let's
Yeah.
bring this into your work. So, your adventures that led you from Chicago to Boca Raton. Do you want to
Elaborate.
tell us about it? Elaborate is a very good word.
Oh, thank you, Philip. I was born and raised in Chicago, middle-class America family. My parents of ethnicity, German, French, Polish, Belgian, Luxembourg. The influence of those countries and my relatives and families, always a large group of cousins and gatherings. I was always an introvert and very shy. My entire
Were you shy around your family, with your cousins and all of those? And partly you were too?
exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah, large family of small family personally, with just being an only child, and then 2 siblings, a brother and sister adopted when I was already in high school. But many cousins, and I always was intimidated.
Did you have a lot of family were you together a lot of them?
Lots of family get-togethers
I
on
know
both sides.
Polish like
Well, my
being
father's side Polish, and my mother the French, German, Belgian. Thus,
So you went to school.
Chicago-
So you went to school in Chicago. You went to school.
I went to a private high school, majoring in art, and that's where
That's where it starts.
that's where the passion began of focusing my attention and awareness on that particular media that then spilled into all sorts of other medias that connected through the years, and especially now. The
So you
love
went to, then you went to South America.
the love to travel came during my high school years, and the opportunity to be chaperone to Latin America, basically Colombia, and then immediately following to Canada. The Expo 67 was happening.
Montreal.
I traveled. I was in my mid high school years. I immediately left Colombia and the next day flew to Canada for Expo 67
Montreal.
and used my French that I was proficient in at that time. The attractive.
Were you doing art
Yes.
at this time? Were you sketching? Were you doing artwork? Was it something you were thinking about but weren't doing?
The artwork happened at a very early age of 4 and 5 years old. My first painting, 4 years old, tempera paint, I still have it, called the Purple House. And my first, as a one-of-a-kind jewelry designer, my first attempt was 5 years old when I made my first bracelet from pop beads. But I was surrounded my entire life by a mother that collected fine jewelry, and in my first inheritance of antique Victorian jewelry that I would just be so fascinated at looking at the construction, and I knew one day this would be something I would pursue in some area. I didn't know at that time what it would be, but it transitioned to be one of my medias that I practice on an ongoing basis in my career and my art form today. Down here in South Florida, I relocated here about 20 years ago. But to backtrack a little, I had the opportunity to visit and then wound up staying in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Again, my fascination with Latin countries and the world in general, which
What influence did Rio de Janeiro have on you?
It was on many levels. The stones that I became, as collecting already at that age, I visited Stearns, a well-known jeweler that is known for its precious gemstones, and that spilled over later on to design work that I was able to use the knowledge I was privy to down there. But music is another very important part when I am making my art, to have music in the background. Brazilian jazz was not that, this was in the early 70s, and Brazilian jazz was just beginning to make its presence known in the United States. So when I returned, I brought back a lot of the Milton Nascimento and a lot of the samba, the Brazilian dance and instrumental music, which to this day is very important to me.